Alright, so welcome back to the ancient world. We're still on the A cards, so let's continue on and see if we can start getting into the B cards here pretty soon. Okay, here we have the Desert Archive and the Cliff Village. The Desert Archive costs 4 money. The Cliff Village costs 3 money. They each also are going to let you start with an additional coin at the beginning of each round, so that's something they both have in common. But here's where they differ. The Cliff Village, for instance, will give you an additional food for each round, so that's nice. So you get one of those additionally. And the Desert Archive is another one of those worker placement actions. You can place your worker here to gain 1 knowledge, which is still pretty useful because if you were to go to the Learn area, you'd have to pay 3 coins to get a knowledge. This way, you're getting it for free. Well, you know, at the cost of a worker, which you'd still have to utilize anyways at the Learn location. Still, that is a very nice one to have for sure. So let's continue on. Okay. Here we have the Zori, dramatists, I believe is how you pronounce it, or dramatists, and the Bandit Caves. Each of these cost 3 money as well, each, and they each also start the round off with you for an extra additional coin. So you'll get an additional coin at the beginning of each round for each of these, okay? But then obviously they have different stuff going on. The Bandit Caves is obviously the easiest to explain. It's another worker placement action. You can place your worker here, and if you do, you get 4 coins whenever you visit the Bandit Caves. So that's pretty straightforward and easy to understand. But the Zori dramatists, if you are first to pass in the round, store an Empire card from the row. Well, that is a really awesome ability. Okay, so I might not have explained this. At some point, you're going to run out of actions in a round, and you're then eventually going to pass. But your opponent or opponents, they might still have some actions to take care of. And so, if that's the case, if you're the first one to do it in that round, you get to store, of course you get to look at 5 cards for the Explore action, basically. You get to store 1. Well, actually, you don't. It says if you're the first, you get to store an Empire card from the row. So you get to look at the 4. You get to choose one of the 4 that's visible, if there is 4 available. It might be 2, there might be 3, might be 1. You get to store one of those for free, without the cost of an action, you know, without anything else. So that's really cool. So that's a cool ability, but only if you're the first person to pass within the round. If somebody else passes before you, then you don't get this ability. Still, it could come in handy. So, for sure. So let's continue on. Alright, so here we have Raiders and the Vineyard. Well, Raiders cost only 4 money, and the Vineyard only cost 2 money. And it's pretty simple. The Vineyard especially. You just get additional food for having the Vineyard. Plain and simple. The Raiders, you're going to get an additional arrow for the Raiders for your use in attacking Titans. And you're also going to get +1 coin when you defeat a Titan. So whenever you defeat a Titan, if you have the Raiders, you're also going to get a coin for doing so. So sort of like a spoils, if you will. So those 2 are obviously were very easy to understand. Let's carry on. Okay, so here we have the Forest Mine. It costs 2 to buy or build. And the Nomad Camp, which costs 6 to build. Okay? The Forest Mine is very easy and very simple. You just get an additional coin at the beginning of the round. Okay, well that's easy enough. The Nomad Camp, you'll notice, has the eyeball on it. And so whenever you do the Explore action, you get to look at 2 additional cards. So you get to look at 7 cards if you have the Nomad Camp instead of 5 when you take the Explore action. But also what's going to happen is you can also use this as a worker placement action. And you can place your worker here to get 2 additional swords when attacking a Titan that round. That's really cool. So it's like Draft, except Draft only lets you get 1 sword per action, per one you'd put there. This one just gives you 2 for having 1 here. So that's definitely a lot better than simply drafting a sword to fight a Titan. All right, so we just have a few more. So let's keep going. All right, so here we have the tea house, which only costs 2 money, and the Cavern Inn, which costs 5. The tea house is you may re-roll 1 die per attack. Well, it's really cool. So that's really cool. You can re-roll a die per attack whenever you get attacked or whenever you attack a Titan. So that's pretty cool. If you have the tea house, you might have a better luck on your next roll. And when you obtain the tea house, you also get 1 knowledge. Just when you obtain it, though, obviously. The Cavern Inn here, it's going to increase your army by 1. So if you currently have your army at 2, it's going to increase it to 3. And it also gives you an additional sword when you fight a Titan. So that's really simple and easy. Okay, and we have 2 left for the A deck. Okay. Gem Caravan is going to cost you 2, and the Fishing Village is going to cost you 3 money. The Fishing Village is going to give you an additional food, okay? But then this is where they sort of have something in common. Both of these cards here, they are worker placement actions. If you place a worker at the Gem Caravan, you get +4 money. If you place a worker at the Fishing Village, you get 2 arrows. So that's sort of similar to the last one. One of the last ones we went over, the Nomad camp, which gave you 2 swords. This one is going to give you 2 arrows. So that's really cool. So those are pretty easy, obviously, and simple to understand. So anyways, that takes care of all of the cards from the A deck. Now, before we continue on with the B deck, I want to mention that even though the C deck has all these different cards, and they each give you not abilities, but extra points, depending on what you have, the Traders Guild, the Hidden Library, the Harbor, the Amethyst Cave, which would just give you a straight 4 victory points, but it costs 11 money to buy, the Fortress, the Sapphire Cave, it costs 16 money to buy or build, and it also gives you 7 extra victory points at the end of the game. The Palace, the Frog statue here, it's going to give you 2 extra victory points per 3 ambrosia that you didn't use, so that's possible, but not likely. The City Center, the Temple, the Citadel, and the Citadel of Ivories. We're not really going to go over any more of these cards here because they're just out there for straight victory points. They don't have any special abilities to help you out through the course of the game. So you can look these up yourself and see which ones you want to go for, because it really just comes down to your strategy. Maybe you do have some extra ambrosia left over, and so the frog statue here could come in handy. Or, you know, maybe you just want straight extra victory points and because you have tons of extra money. Maybe you have 11 money that is going to go to waste. So maybe getting the Amethyst Cave might be beneficial. Or maybe you just have a certain amount of extra food. Or, you know, because you just got tons of food because you got tons of cards that gave you food. You know, or maybe you just didn't use all your knowledge. So you get 2 extra victory points with that. With the Hidden Library. So it really is up to you, though, and up to your strategy and what you were able to pull off with what these cards you should go for. But that's all I'm going to go for over with the C deck. Okay? So that just leaves the B deck here, which is still quite a few cards, and the districts. Okay? And we'll go over the districts last. Okay, and then we'll pretty much have covered pretty much everything there is to really talk about in this game, the Ancient World. So let's continue on with these, and maybe we can get through maybe half of these, and maybe even get through the districts in the next video with the rest of these. Okay? Okay, and some of these just give you straight victory points too, so, but some of them do give you abilities. Alright, so let's continue on. So here we have the Hall of War. It's going to cost 5, and it's also going to cost you a knowledge. The Forest Hideout here is also going to cost you 5. The Forest Hideout is going to give you +4 victory points if you only have 3 citizens at the end of the game. So if you only have, and it doesn't necessarily matter by which number you have, but if you only have these, you only have 3 citizens in total at the end of the game. Forced Hideout will give you 4 extra points. If you bought, or should I say, you took the action and got an additional worker at the beginning of the game, or should I say, before you bought this, then there's no point in buying this because you're not going to get the extra points for it. So that is something to note. So you might want to rethink your strategy before getting this, because then it means you're not going to have those additional workers for the last 2 rounds of the game, or 3 if you're playing with a particular civilization. The Hall of War is simple enough that you get an additional coin at the beginning of the round, and you also get a sword to help you fight Titans with. And it's also going to give you an additional 6 victory points if you have 4 of that red banner, 3 of the blue banner, and 4 of the purple banner each. So you'd have to have all of those exactly, at least, to get the 6 additional points. So that's how those 2 work. Let's carry on. All right, so here we have Cavetown. It's pretty cheap. It only costs 2 money, and it does cost a knowledge, but that's still pretty cheap. And then we have Dungeons here. It also only costs 4 money, so it's also fairly cheap as well. So Cavetown here is going to give you an additional worker. So as soon as you build the Cavetown, you're going to get an additional citizen or worker. That's easy enough. And actually, no, hold on. And plus 2 victory points. Oh, and you're going to get plus 2 victory points too. So that's cool. So you're going to get the additional worker, like I said, okay? And you're also going to get 2 additional points at the end of the game, plus 2 points. It doesn't say per. If this was like meaning just extra points and that's it, it would say this per, or should I say 2 points per citizen you have, or something like that. It doesn't. It says this, and it's definitely separated. There's a big space between that and that. So it's saying that you're going to get a new worker, and then you're going to get plus 2 extra points at the end of the game for having Cavetown. So that's what that means. Okay, Dungeons. Dungeons is plus 3 coins when you visit the labor action. So normally you only get 2 coins when you visit the labor action. If you have Dungeons, you're going to get 5 coins instead. Because after all, these people might be working extra hard down in those dungeons. So that's, interesting. And possibly thematic. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, so here we have Crypta ship and the port city. So they each cost 3 each. Okay, and the port city is very easy to understand. You get food for your extra workers, and you get plus 3. You get the plus 3 sight. So whenever you do the explore action, or even when you do the expand action to get more districts, you get to look at 3 additional cards. So that's pretty easy and simple to understand. The Crypta ship here, though, it's a worker placement action. So it's another one of them. So whenever you place a worker here, you're going to gain 2 coins. So that's cool. So you gain, and so basically what you're going to do is you'll notice that there's a ship symbol above the coins. So when you go here, if you place your worker here, you're basically taking the explore action, but you're also going to gain 2 additional coins by taking the explore action. So that's kind of interesting. So this kind of prevents you from having to interact too much with the other players and maybe losing coins in the process because they placed a higher number than you at the explore area. So that could come in handy. So that's how those 2 cards work. Let's carry on. All right. So here we have the bathhouse, which costs 5, and we have the trade route, which costs 1, so that's really cheap, and a knowledge. Okay, well, this trade route's pretty simple. You're going to get plus 4 victory points if you have 6 of the banner with the snake on it. Okay, so let's show you the banner with the snake on it. So if you have that banner and you have 6 of them at the end of the game, you'll get an additional 4 points with the trade route. That's easy enough. The bathhouse is another worker placement area. So place your worker here. When you place a worker here at the bathhouse, you're going to get 1 knowledge, and you're also going to get an arrow in helping you fight Titans for that round. So that's kind of cool and easy to understand. Okay, there has only been a few here so far that took a little bit more understanding to understand how they work. And these are pretty simple too. Monastery and Ebul Pasture. Monastery costs 6. Ebul Pasture costs 4. The monastery is going to give you an additional knowledge at the beginning of each round, and it's also going to give you an extra arrow whenever you fight a titan. The Ebul Pasture is going to give you an extra coin at the beginning of each round, and it's also going to give you some food as well. So, very simple and easy, for sure. Okay, let's move on. Alright, so here we have the War Camp, which costs 4 money, and the Holy Site, which costs 6 money and a knowledge. Okay? The War Camp here, it's another worker placement area. So you put your worker here, and whenever you do, you get 2 extra swords when fighting a Titan for that round. The Holy Site is going to give you an extra coin at the beginning of each round, obviously. But it's also a worker placement area. Whenever you place a worker here, you get to remove all coins from 1 military card. Oh, that is awesome. If you have a ton of coins on a particular military card, this is, oh, wow. I can't believe it. I have to say, that is definitely, the Holy Site is definitely one of my favorite cards for sure. It's probably definitely within my top 10, and it's definitely one of the best in the B for sure. Holy Site, awesome card. Love it. Love it a lot. Why couldn't have I had that card when I played it last time? It didn't even show up. Okay. So here we have the Treasury, which is going to cost 6 and a knowledge, and the Linguist Guild, which is going to cost 3. The Treasury is actually going to give you 2 additional coins at the beginning of each round. That's awesome. You get 2 coins, 2 extra coins at the beginning of each round. And it's also going to give you some 6 extra victory points if you have 5 of the blue banner and 5 of that banner with the snake on it. So if you have those 2 banners and you have 5 of each of them, you're going to get plus 6 points with the Treasury. With the Linguist Guild, you're going to get plus 2 coins whenever you take the action Explore. That's what you get for the Linguist Guild. So both are, once again, fairly easy to understand. I think these are probably the easiest thus far. Okay, Theater and Orchard. The Theater here is going to cost 4 and a knowledge, and the Orchard is going to cost 5 and a knowledge. The Theater is going to let you get to start with an extra coin at the beginning of the round, and the Orchard is going to let you start with an additional knowledge at the beginning of each round. So that's easy and simple. Let's move on. Okay, we might have one here that might take a little bit more understanding. Here we have the Arena. It's going to cost 6 money, and it's going to also cost you a knowledge. The Traveler Camp here is just going to cost you 6. Let's talk about the Arena first because it's something we've already talked about. With the Arena, you're going to get an additional coin at the beginning of the round, and it's another worker placement area. You get 2 additional swords if you place your worker here for that round when fighting Titans. So that's simple. The Traveler Camp here, it is going to give you an additional food, which is obviously simple enough to understand. And you'll notice it has a little boat here at the top, and it's going to give you, which means it's going to give you plus 1 card to look at when you take the Explore action if you have the Traveler Camp. Now you're probably wondering what this means. So this is a wild banner. There's only 2 Traveler Camps in the whole game. Okay, and there's only 2 cards that have wild on them. And it's obviously this one here, because there's 2 of them. The wild means you can count this banner towards any of the 5 tribe banners. Any of the colors, yellow, blue, green, purple, red. Okay? You can count it towards any one of those to help you score some points. You could do it to help you gain points depending on what cards you have that give you extra points. You can use this and count it as one banner of color of your choice. You can also use it towards the end of the game when you're counting up all the different colored banners to get some extra points on a particular banner. Maybe you have one that's at 5. You'll get a whole lot more points if you make it that particular card and make it 6 instead of 5, because you get extra points between 5 and 6 than you would between 4 and 5, for instance. So there could be some strategy involved in what you're going to use the Traveler Camp for. Okay, well, I will, even though there's only a handful left here, we will cover the rest of these in the next video. We still have some district cards to go over anyways. So I'll see you guys in the next video.